Hi, and welcome to Stressed, the podcast to develop your stress resilience. Being ambitious and successful while living a happy life is possible. Learn how you can better cope with stress in day-to-day situations by applying tools and techniques that work for you. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm extremely grateful that you decided to check out my podcast today. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to Stressed, the podcast to develop your stress resilience. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm super excited to personally welcome you to the next year, to 2020, and at the same time welcome you to the next season of my podcast, Stressed, Develop Your Stress Resilience. Yes, it's been an entire year that I've been recording and publishing my podcast. We have had a total of 53 episodes in 2019, and I'm really excited to kick off 2020 with a very special podcast episode on how to manifest and visualize your dreams and your goals for 2020. I'm sure a really important topic that you have been thinking about leading up to 2020 and probably over the last couple of days as well, celebrating the new year with your friends and your family. I've been having obviously a lot of dreams and goals as well since I started my own business, since I started my business in February officially. And I wanted to talk with you about a couple of different challenges that I have been facing over the last couple of months and how I'm preparing moving into 2020. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of different things. I've been doing a lot of work on creating a book proposal for the book that I want to publish in 2020. I've been working on my programs. I've been working on my community. There's always many things to do when you are an entrepreneur. And I'm sure that you feel the same way if you are working for a company or if you're building your own business as well. So when I thought about 2020 and moving back into kind of the work regiment, I've had a little bit of a hard time because I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed of all of the things that I want to achieve, because my head is always full of so many ideas and so many things that I want to do, that when I actually started to sit down on my desk a few days ago after coming back from vacation, I felt really overwhelmed and I procrastinated honestly for a couple of days because I just didn't know where to start. So I want to share with you a couple of things that I did in order to move from my procrastination mode into getting into action mode. And I want to talk with you about how I'm setting goals and how I'm visualizing and manifesting my goals and dreams. So the very first thing that was really important for me while moving into the new year and while moving into the second year of my business is that I was really clear on what I want to achieve in 2020. Something that I find I hadn't really done so much before in my life, especially while I was working for a company. And I think it's a really big mistake, because if we want to achieve certain things, and as we are all high performers and high achievers, we obviously always have dreams and things that we want to do in the next year and in the next part of our life. And I think it's really important to write these down. So the very first thing that I did, and the very first thing that I would highly recommend you to do, is to really sit down for a couple of hours and write down the goals for 2020. And when you're doing that, I want you to really think about your professional aspirations as well as your personal aspirations, because sometimes we might forget the one or the other, depending on where you are in your life. And I think both are really important, because on the one hand, we obviously want to move forward. We want to have a successful career, no matter if it is in a company or in your own business. But at the same time, we also want to have a fulfilled life. We want to create a really powerful work-life balance. And it is important that we are looking at both. How I'm doing that is by using actually a journal that I have been finding online and that I've been using since 2019. And it's the Unravel Your Year workbook from Susannah, Conway. And I'm going to link it in the show notes. And I thought that I really wanted to share this with you because it's been extremely powerful for me. It is a workbook that kind of reflects on all of the things that happened in 2019, about all of the things that went well, all the things that didn't go so well, all of your learnings and your challenges and your opportunities. And it helps you to set a goal. It helps you actually to find a word for 2020. And I want to share with you as well what my words were in 2019 and what my word is going to be in 2020, because I want to share it with you, because I feel the more we share, the more our dreams are really manifested and we're visualizing our goal. And of course, we also have more people to keep us accountable. So in 2019, of course, with building my own business, my word was success. And I was really sure that I want to be successful in 2019. And it was a really great year. And I'm really excited that I made this big decision to leave my company and to go out on my own and to go into this adventure of creating my own business. And for 2020, my new word is going to be persistence, because I feel like in the first year, everything was so exciting. I had so many learnings. I met so many incredible people. And even though I know that in 2020, it's going to be the same, I think that perseverance and persistence is going to be really important, because it's going to be a little bit tougher. I think that there's going to be maybe more hurdles, more challenges while growing my business. And I think it is really important to not give up. And so for my 2020 vision and mission, I have set myself the goal to be persistent and to just go through my life and my work and not give up. Because sometimes, honestly, I have these days where I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? Is it all the right things? And it's sometimes not so easy to be an entrepreneur, let me tell you that. Anyway, so setting yourself goals is really important, especially when you're working for a company as well. I want you to think about the large scheme of things. And one of the exercises that Susannah Conway is actually doing in the Unravel Your Year workbook is to think about December 2020 and envision meeting your future self and telling your future self what you have accomplished during the year. And I thought it was a really cool exercise. I did that last year, and I wrote myself a letter of all of the things that I want to accomplish. And reading this letter at the end of this year was extremely powerful. And I'm definitely going to do this for next year as well. And let me tell you, there's a lot of things that actually came true, or that are at least in the process of getting there, right? Sometimes we're obviously not completely fulfilling or completing our goals, but at least we are on the right track to get to meet them. So really creating your goals is the very first important step when we're talking about manifesting and visualizing your dreams for 2020. The second step that I want to share with you that I think is really important, and that was really important for me over the last couple of days, was to not get distracted. I think especially when you're coming back to work after a little bit of time away, it is very easy to get distracted and to try to multitask, because there's probably a lot of things that are lying around. There's a lot of emails that you have to read. There's a lot of new projects and maybe people that you have to get to know. And it's really easy to get distracted, especially when you didn't have a quiet time during Christmas and New Year's. I know this is a time where we're spending a lot of time with family and friends, and we're probably partying and we're going out a lot, and you might be feeling like you actually need another week to recharge when you're coming back to work. So in order to not get overwhelmed and in order to not feel depleted already at the beginning of the year, it is really important to remove distractions and to be really clear on what you want to achieve. So what I would really highly recommend to you, and something that I did for myself, was that I got really clear every morning when I got up before I started my work day to write down 2 things that I really want to accomplish during that day. And I was really honest and realistic with myself that those 2 things can actually be accomplished during the day, because one of the things that we tend to do is that we're putting way too many things on our plate. We often think that we can do a lot more things that we that we actually can do. And so it's really important to be realistic and honest with yourself of what are the 2 things that you want to work on today, and then stick to that plan. And one of the things that I did as well yesterday actually was that I wrote down 2 things that I wanted to do, and at the end of the day I was only able to accomplish one of them, which was totally fine. But then when I got up this morning and when I started my workday, I didn't put an additional thing on my calendar. I just worked on the thing that I had set out to do yesterday. You see where I'm going with this, right? So it's really important that you are realistic with yourself and you're doing it step by step. And the other thing that I did today, in order to completely remove distractions and to really be concentrated on what I wanted to achieve, is to close my email inbox tab. And I'm sure that if you have been listening to my podcast episodes, you know that this is one thing that I think is so important, because we get so easily distracted. But closing your email inbox tab is very, very useful, because we get so easily distracted when we're seeing a little 2 or a little 15 in brackets behind our tab, and we get distracted, and then we kind of remove our focus from the task at hand, and we are not really productive. So I'm doing that actually with all of the tabs that could possibly distract me. So I'm also closing my LinkedIn tab, my inbox tab, my Instagram tab. I close all of the tabs that could possibly distract me while I'm working on an important project that needs my full attention. And guess what? I was doing that today for a couple of hours, and it was so powerful of how much I actually got done with that strategy. And I even put my phone away. I wanted to not get any distractions. I saw a couple of messages from my family that is obviously in Germany and that has been celebrating New Year's a couple of hours earlier. But I was really, really serious about doing my work and not getting distracted, because I knew that even if I would take my phone in my hand 2 or 3 hours later, they would still be there and I could still wish them a happy new year, and all of the emails and all of the notifications that came in were also still there 2 or 3 hours later. But I felt super accomplished. I felt really happy and satisfied with myself, instead of being distracted and not moving towards the goal that I had set out to do. So removing distractions when we are talking about manifesting and really working towards your dreams is extremely important. And with that comes the next step that is really important, which is it is really important to be disciplined. I think especially when we are coming back from vacation, it is really easy to get distracted, to try to multitask in all these different directions, because we have so many things on our plate, while at the same time we might be feeling a little bit stressed, we might feel overwhelmed, we might feel depleted, exhausted, sleepy, all the different things, maybe uninspired and unmotivated as well. And so I think discipline is a really important subject to talk about as well, and something that I have been holding myself accountable to as well. Because when we are not disciplined, then obviously it is very easy to slip into a bad routine and to slip into a habit of doing a million things but not really moving forward. And while I was feeling overwhelmed in the first day or two when I went back into my working mode, I just, told myself, Julia, you have to keep on going. It's just the beginning, and I know I'm going to go back into that work mode, and I know that what I'm doing is really important for so many people out there, and I just need to do it, because sometimes while doing it and while building this discipline, we are finding new motivation, we find new joy, and we find new inspiration to keep moving, and that obviously sparks a new flame in us in order to get going. So I did that over the last couple of days, and again, having a structure in place and being disciplined has been really helpful for me, and I'm sure it's going to be really helpful for you as well. And I know that you, as a high achiever and as a peak performer, have learned to be disciplined. You have learned what it takes in order to deliver great results and be successful. So just remind yourself that you can do it, even though at this point in time, maybe when you're listening to the podcast right now, it might not feel like that. I know that you can do it. I know that you are a disciplined person. You have proven it over and over and over again. So just stay at it and don't forget that we are all going through these motions and emotions at the beginning of a new year. I think we all set ourselves so many new goals and intentions and resolutions for 2020, but don't put yourself under too much pressure at the beginning of the year. I think this is a really important topic as well, right? Because we think that, okay, now it's January 1st and I have to set all these resolutions and all these goals and I have to do them all at the same time. And what happens then is that we are setting ourselves up for not a very successful new year, because it's just completely unrealistic to be healthy, to work out, to be successful, to do all of the things with our family, with our friends, for our business, for our company. As you can already tell, you're probably laughing as well at this point. It's just too much stuff. And if you think that in the first week of the new year, you will be a completely different person, that's not what happens. That's just not how it goes. You have to set realistic goals and you need to take a step-by-step approach instead of just completely overwhelming yourself with all of the things at the same time. So setting smart, realistic goals, of course, is always extremely important. Also at the beginning of the new year, even though you might be extremely inspired and motivated to make a lot of different changes in the year, remind yourself you have the whole year to get there. And instead of making big goals and trying to do it all in a day or two, try to do it step by step and create, for example, a calendar that reflects what you want to do in each month to get to the goals that you have. And with that said, I think another really important thing to do, and something that I'm doing as well, is to think about the people that you surround yourself with. If you want to be successful, if you want to visualize and manifest your goals for 2020, it is equally important to think about who are the people that you surround yourself with. Who is your network and who is in your network and who can support you in different aspects. That might be a coach, that might be a friend, that might be a colleague, a team member, a manager, could be all different kinds of people. And something that I always find extremely powerful and something that I very much think about every year and on honestly also a monthly basis, because I think it's really important that you get inspired and you get held accountable by the people that you surround yourself with. This doesn't necessarily only have to be people in the real world, as I would say it, but also people that, for example, you listen to on a podcast, like me. I could be one of your people that you surround yourself with. It could be a coach, or it could be an author that you really like and that you find very inspiring. It could be your friend, like I said, but it could be really just any person that you find extremely inspiring and that you feel always energized by when you're listening to their content or when you're reading their articles. So think about who are maybe the 3 to 5 most important people in your life for 2020 to help you achieve the goals that you have set out to do. And for me, it is a couple of different people. It is my sister, for example, and I'm sure that you have heard this many times before as well. My sister is a very important person in my life, and we are striving towards similar goals. So she is a very important person in my life and a person that I share my 2020 goals with, my aspirations. We're talking about our challenges, and she's keeping me accountable, and I'm holding her accountable as well. But I also have, for example, a couple of different coaches in my life in the real world, but also people that I just follow on social media and that are always really, really inspiring for me and that really keep me going. I also talked to a couple of really fascinating people just yesterday, people that are entrepreneurs, that have non-profit organizations. I talked to a girl that I'm going to interview for the podcast in a couple of weeks. Her name is Johanna Seitenbach, and she just wrote a thesis about mental health in the workplace for millennials. So there's so many interesting, inspiring people that I'm meeting on a regular basis, on almost a daily basis, and they just keep me going. I can have really honest and open conversations with, and I can also share with them sometimes the challenges and struggles that I experience, and that I can ask for their input. Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings and we are all going through these ups and downs in our life. And when we have a really powerful support system, we are also getting through these more difficult times. So having a powerful network is something that I want you to start thinking about, or something that I just want you to manifest by taking a piece of paper and a pen and by writing down these 5 people that are extremely important in your life. And then surround yourself with these people. Make sure that you're regularly getting input from these people, that you're regularly talking to these people, or that you are setting yourself the intentions to read their content or to listen to their podcast, or whatever it is that you need in order to keep that discipline alive and move into the right directions. And finally, what I wanted to share with you as well, one of the things that I'm doing besides filling out that Unravel Your Year workbook is that I'm also vision boarding. I really love vision boarding, and it's something that I've been doing over the last 2 years. And it's just a very creative exercise to get a little bit my creative juices flowing and to really think about what do I really want to do in the year in terms of personal and professional development. And I think it's just really fun. I invite a few friends over and we have something to drink or something healthy to eat and to drink, especially in January, because usually we're setting the intention to not have any sugar or alcohol in the first year of the new year, in the first month of the new year. And then we're just sitting down and we're cutting out pictures and little articles and little inspirational quotes, and we put them on a vision board. And that vision board, really honestly, throughout the whole year is next to my bed. And I'm looking at it in the morning. Every morning I'm looking at it and I'm reminding myself of the goals that I have for that year. Usually what's also on my vision board is my word for this year, so for in this case 2020, and I'm really envisioning and visualizing what I want to do. And for me, that's just another way of how I'm manifesting my goals and how I'm reminding myself that this is what I want to achieve in the year. So maybe you're trying this as well. And if you do, I would love to see it. So tag me in an Instagram post if you are doing vision boarding. I think it's really powerful and it's a fun exercise. And it's always a good reminder when we are feeling a little bit low. When I look at my vision board, it always makes me really happy. And it reminds me of all of the things that I just want to do and that I'm inspired to do. So this is all I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you took a couple of helpful tips and techniques out of today's podcast episode in order really to manifest and visualize your dreams for 2020. I am really, really excited that you are here with me, that you are spending the second year of this podcast with me together. And if you know anyone that might be benefiting from the information that I just shared with you, feel free to share it with them. It's always a pleasure to have new people listen to my podcast. It's always really helpful if you help other people, because at the end of the day, it's all about helping each other and making each other stronger. That's all I wanted to share with you today. This is the first podcast episode of 2020. Once again, Happy New Year. I'm really excited that you are still listening to this podcast, and I hope that I will be able to share a lot of really powerful, really inspirational and motivational content with you in 2020. I have already lined up amazing podcast interview guests that I can't wait to share with you. And if you have any questions, or if there's a topic that you would like me to talk about because you might be struggling with that, you can always head over to my website under bluemountainmindfulness.com/podcast. And there is a section where you can submit a question. So if you want to do that, please feel free to. You can also reach out over LinkedIn or social media, of course. There are so many ways to connect with me, and I would always really, really love to hear from you. So with that said, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast episode. I wish you a wonderful week, and I hear you next week, same time, same day. With gratitude, Julia.